All right. Well, here we go. It is Monday, and I'm back. I'm in California again. Spent the week in Tennessee and had a great time. But thank you guys for joining us today on the Master Motivation Show. We got a great guest. We got Mr. Manny Bujold. And with over 37 years of martial arts experience, Mr. Bujold is a 7th degree black belt in Tang Soo Do and a 16-time sport karate world champion. Dedicating his life to martial arts, Mr. Bujold started his martial arts career at the age of 5. His love for the martial arts and teaching is evident the second you meet him. With his dedication, charismatic personality, and passion for helping his students become the best martial arts they can be, he hopes to instill the love for martial arts just as it was instilled in him. What a great bio. Good afternoon.
How are you doing, brother?
I am fantastic. I'm so good, and I'm excited to have you. Thank you, by the way, for jumping a week ahead, because I know a lot of people were expecting Michael Chabot today, but he's on vacation, so you were able to switch. I appreciate your flexibility.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm a little jealous of both of you guys. You went to vacation in Tennessee. Your other guest is on vacation. I'm the one here where I'm dying, man. I want to trade places.
Well, you just got to get out there and go take that vacation.
I know. I'm not very good about that.
Yeah, as martial artists and school owners, we know that this is our love and our passion, and sometimes our love and our passion takes over that extra time for ourselves. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. What I want to start with is, man, 16-time world champion. That's like as much as John Cena and Ric Flair.
Well, I'll go with the Ric Flair. I mean, I'd rather go with Bret Hart. That's my guy.
There you go.
Hitman's more my thing, but yeah, no, I've been doing it. It pays to start to get older and do the older divisions, so it allows you to keep going. But no, I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm enjoying now with the school being able to have my students compete. I actually get more nervous now watching them compete than when I do. But it's a great thing. The community is amazing. And just getting to see your friends that have the same passion and the same, desire as you do, it's great to be around. It's an infectious thing. So
Yeah, and it's what a big change it is. Well, maybe not a change because you're still doing both, but to be a coach and to be a competitor, because being a competitor is one thing. You get in the zone, you do your thing, you go out there, but to be a coach and have to get your students ready, or if you have kids, you're getting your kids ready, and man, that's a whole different animal. It was kind of cool, by the way. I went to compete. I didn't compete. I went to the Compete International Tournament to watch a good friend of mine, Kevin Kowalczyk, and I hadn't seen Mr. Pacheco in probably 25 years, and he was the first person that I ran into when I walked in the door. What a cool guy!
Yeah, he's been my fight coach now, my sport karate coach for 26 years. So he's a great guy. He actually just had his tournament yesterday. He had his Mexico Nationals yesterday.
Yep.
So no, that's awesome. It's definitely changing. Kevin's amazing. I love always getting to catch him compete and talk and all that good stuff. He's an amazing man.
Yeah, he is. We connected through going to the Super Show in Vegas. The Martial Arts Industry Association several years back, and we've kind of done a lot of stuff together, training wise, and just become really good friends. So I went down. I actually went to compete so I could watch his son Jet compete, who is going to be an amazing phenom.
Awesome.
But let's talk more about you. 16-time world champion. How'd you get there?
By losing a lot in the beginning. A lot of it was luck. I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time to meet the right people that could help push me where I needed to be. So I was, I got my 2nd through 7th degree black belt through Harry Graham, and he was coming down to a school that I was training at, and just by luck, I happened to go that day and met him, and him and I hit it off, and I ended up leaving that school and going to him. He introduced me to Mr. Pacheco. And those two together really became Frankenstein and made me who I am. I'm the man and the fighter, martial artist that I am because of those two. But it was not. I started off with forms. I couldn't fight a lick. I was god awful. So I started doing forms, and Mr. Graham and Mr. Pacheco was like, you know what, you can fight. You just got to train, and this is how you have to do it. And I part of having a coach is, for me, it allows me to relax and go, you know what, you guys are the boss. I'm going to do exactly what you say. So if it doesn't work, that's on you. And if I don't do what you say and I don't win, that's on me. And it's like anything. You have to show up, and you show up, you do the work. And I'm sure it's the same way with when you were wrestling. The ring doesn't lie. It will tell you what you have done and what you haven't done. And it's the same thing with just taking a class and having your students come in. I practiced. Okay. How many times did you practice? Because it looks like you practiced once, uh, or it looks like you practice 2 hours a day now. So it's really, one foot in front of the other, and understanding that, Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you really love something, you'll understand that, things worth having take time.
Hmm.
And if you really love the process and love what you're doing, you're going to be able to stick through it.
Now, where did you mentioned Harry Graham from second to seventh degree? Where did you originally get your black belt?
I got my junior and adult black belt through Bob Burbage,
Okay.
and love him to death. I miss him every day. He was an old school, just mean SOB, but loved him like a dad. And it was very black and white. This is how you do it, and this is how you don't. And he wasn't one really to promote pass first. He's like, I gave you your foundation, go find your way. And I got my junior with him, and it's the only test that I still, to this day, I'll debate with any of the people on the panel, feel like I should have failed that test. It might have been better than other people's, but I know that I had more in me. And I was very grateful that I got to have an adult black belt test after that. But in between, he didn't really have a school. So I went to go train at this other school in Malibu, and he got me in shape. The instructor there got me in shape to be able to do my adult black belt test, and allowed me to crush that adult black belt test. And then after that, met Mr. Graham, and the rest is history. So
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think back, to those years, and obviously Bob Burbage goes way back. He and my instructor Dennis Ichikawa
uh-huh.
kind of ran in the same circle and trained with the same people during the 70s and 80s. As a matter of fact, I have a black belt, Randy Berman. I don't know if you know Randy, but he trained with Steve Conblatt, who trained under Bob Burbage, and he just got his sixth degree last year with me. So.
I I I haven't seen Steve Conblatt in forever. He had a school at the Wizen Shopping Center, which
Hmm.
is about a mile and a half from where I'm at now. Um, but last time I think I saw him, I think was probably my adult black belt test was like
Hmm.
96.
Hmm.
Like 95, 96 was the last time I saw him.
Well, and
Uh,
that's probably the last time I saw him, because I remember he was teaching the karate program at the Agora Hills Spectrum Club before Conrad Ercolano came in and took that program over. So there's a lot of interwoven history. You and I have known each other quite a long time, although we probably didn't train in the same class or the same circle. I remember, I think probably the very first tournament I saw you was probably in Agora Hills, and you and Nikki Wright and Harry Graham were kind of running around and doing stuff. That was when my brother started competing. But yeah, I mean, we go way back. Now, tell everybody a little bit more about starting at 5 years old.
well, hold on. I'm gonna go back to that. You probably don't remember, but I did your tournament. You threw a tournament back in the day, and that was one of the first tournaments that I did.
Really?
Yours, yours and Roger Lacombs when I was just a short little kid.
Now, where was that? Was that here at our Moore Park School, or was it at a gym?
I think was it Moore Park School, or was it Camarillo? I'm not sure exactly where it was, but I remember
Okay,
going there and meeting you there, and just seeing everybody. I'm like, okay, this works.
right.
You know, so yeah. Starting at 5, but back to your question, I was born and raised in Malibu, and I wasn't, the spoiled rich kid. I wasn't at 5, you're not the druggie, but like I just didn't fit in with the surfer druggie crew there. I saw Jaws. I wasn't about to get in the ocean. The ocean scares me. um, so I wanted to do sports. I'm very dyslexic, so school wasn't the easiest thing in the world for me. And then team sports wasn't the most enjoyable for me because for me, I think everything should be earned and fought for and not just going, oh, you're on the team, you have, you get to play this quarter, or I'm working harder than you, but that other kid hasn't gotten his play time, so we're going to pull you. I kind of liked having all of that, weight on my shoulders. So I, kind of fell into in more individual sports, so karate, really connected with me on that. And then tennis were my two real big things. So
Yeah. And I'm assuming at 5 years old you didn't choose martial arts. I'm
I did.
assuming that your partial
No,
your
I did.
your parents you did
I
choose.
I saw, so they picked the instructor. I mean, there wasn't really many to pick from. I was lucky that it was Mr. Burbage in Malibu, but I saw the Karate Kid, and I go up to my mom. I go, I want to do that, and she goes, all right. She goes, that's one of your birthday presents. It was my 5th birthday that I started. Brought me in. Rest is history.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
And were your parents always supportive of, martial arts for you and your competition?
They were always supportive of me finding my way, so they would let me try anything. So, like all parents, they had their faults, but the one thing that my mother and dad were great about was going, "You want to try it? You can do it. Whatever you want to try." Um, and when they saw just, that was it. All I wanted to do was, I'm like, "Do I have to go to school? Can't I just go to the morning karate class today?" There wasn't really much to say. She's like, "All right, you found your passion, you found your love." And my mom and my biological dad are both actors, and she's very much a follow your passion and do what you love type person. So once she saw that, she was like, let's go. And then my dad that raised me, my mom was the boss of the house. So even if he didn't agree with it, she's like, all right, mom says you can do it. So,
Right, right. And you said so your first tournament was either at my school or my tournament. How old were you your first competition?
um, a lot older. I didn't really, Mr. Burbage wasn't really the biggest competitor. So I was probably, I think the first one was at Roger Lacombs, an inner school at Roger Lacombs. I think I was probably 13.
Okay.
I did that. I didn't really start competing until 16.
Right.
Like, no, I was 12. It was the first one I did was 12. And then like the first main like season that I did when I really kind of fell in love with it was 16. I started doing that.
So if competition, didn't really drive you in your training, what was it about martial arts that kept you in it? That kept, I mean, you started at 5 and didn't really compete until, 12, 13 years old. I mean, we're talking 8 years.
Yeah, it's
So
a lot. God, what stuck me in it? The desire to be better, the being able to see in myself growth in ways that I wasn't getting in other activities. And like I said, my parents were very loving, but rules, boundaries, discipline were not really words in their vocabulary. They did the best that they could, but I saw what I needed at a young age and really found it with a disciplinarian instructor like Mr. Burbage. Um, and then competition for me, when I started doing that, I saw so many areas that I needed to get better at. And my one goal over anything was I want to have a world title. So that pushed me through it. Then I wanted to win another. Then I wanted to win another. And then after that, I just wanted to see my friends, and I liked the competition aspect of it. I liked being able to go out and see who was the best on that particular day. Um, but it martial arts stuck with me because it filled it was a parent that I needed. As parents, we will give so many parts of ourselves to our children and to our students to fill what they're missing. And I had a lot of stuff that needed to be filled, and I definitely got that from martial arts, and will be eternally grateful because of that.
and when I talk to martial artists about, what keeps you in it. A lot of them bring up a lot of those same points, the camaraderie. I know that going to tournaments, like you said, it's great to catch up with your friends, and it's great to be around those people that bring you up and make you feel good, pick you up when you're down. In some cases, you're traveling with them from place to place to go to the different tournaments. I mean, you really develop this bond. And you've had, like you said, the fortune to train with Jose Pacheco, and you have a great relationship with Raymond Daniels. Talk
Mhm.
about that, how that team has come together, and how that has elevated you to a whole nother level.
Well, I've known Raymond since I was 15. Met him at Stan Witz's tournament. Um, and it was interesting how I met him. He actually got hurt. And I can't remember if it was his foot or his ankle that he tweaked. And I'm like, I got some stuff for you, brother, if you need it. I got, brace, I got some ointment, stuff for you. And we, became, acquaintances from there. Saw him at Long Beach Internationals, kept talking there. And just that friendship bonded. We were roommates for, a long while, on the same fight team for a little bit. He's been a dear friend and a brother for a long time, and he's the goat. Man, that guy he's the goat.
Well, I happened to run into him as well at Compete, and had a good chat with him. It's funny, that you brought up the story of how you met, because someone had commented when I was promoting our show that I'd be interviewing you, and they talked about this incident,
Oh,
and
did
I
they?
didn't know that it was Raymond Daniels that they were talking about. They didn't say who. They just said, I remember seeing Manny go over and help a fellow competitor, and that just speaks so much, speaks volumes about his character. And I had no idea that was Raymond Daniels. So
Yeah, no,
what a
that was
what a cool
Raymond.
story.
Yeah, Raymond came up, and what's so crazy about Raymond is, like, if you go back on his fighting, he's got the best spin kick I've ever seen in my life. But when he first started,
Ridiculous.
we were never worried about his kicks. We were worried about his hands. His hands were so fast. You're just going, we'd see him blitz people, hit him, the ref would say stop, and then they block. Like, it was absurdly fast. And he's a perfect example of someone that really honed his craft and just, didn't listen to any naysayers. Oh, you can't spin, you can't do this. No, he just perfected it perfect for him. And he's won many titles. He's won a ton of fights, his Bellator world championships, all that stuff from being him. And it's a great, kind of testament to, don't listen to what people say, do what you can do.
Right.
And it's usually people that can't do it that are talking the most. So
Very true. Very true. As I was getting ready to do this interview, and I came back from Compete, and I was telling my son, some people that I saw, and I told him about Raymond. He didn't know who he was, and I said, well, here, watch this clip. And it was like his top 10, knockouts or something. He's like,
insane.
dude, like,
It's
that's insane.
insane. Well, it's crazy. So, like, everyone talked about Anthony Pettis's cage kick, how he ran off the cage and kicked Benson Henderson in the head.
Right.
Raymond did that in Mexico like 4 years before. Like, the stuff they're like, oh yeah, it's so innovative. The stuff that Raymond has, started with all of this, and people have taken on. It's incredible.
Now, talk a little bit more about, you've had the chance to train with him, and Mr. Pacheco has been your coach. Um, how have they really changed you as a fighter? Because you said when you first started, you were more of kind of a forms guy, and they gave you the confidence to start fighting. They gave you the tools to start getting out to the tournaments. Talk about that evolution of improving your fighting.
Well, I would say what started was Harry Graham fixing just my karate and just making me a much better martial artist, from kicking better to better footwork to better strength, sitting in my punches, all this stuff. And then with that, he brought me down to Mr. Pacheco's school that he had back in the day, which was on Firestone and Long Beach Boulevard down in
Mhm.
Southgate. And they just, you know, they showed me what it was like to be a dedicated fighter. Those two, you know, it's not, doing your fight class on a Friday night or Tuesday night, whenever you have it. It's No, you're going to get your cardio in. You're going to get your sparring on the side. You're going to do all of these classes. And, they turned me into, before I was really injured. I mean, I was training 4 to 6 hours a day. Now I'm just old and broken, 2 back surgeries, bad hip. I'm just happy to be able to get in and out of the chair. So,
Well, you're not quite that old yet, but
hey,
it's the
I'll walk
miles, right?
I say that again.
I said it's the miles, right? It's not the years, it's the miles.
True, but you know what? I started doing Kempo about 4 years ago, and my Kempo instructor said a line to me. He goes, "It's better to wear out than rust," and I'd much rather wear out than sit around to rust. So I'll take the injuries. It's a price of
I
it.
like that.
It's a price of entrance. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, where was your first world championship? Where'd you win the first one?
98. Sorry, 99. 98 was the first one that I went to, and that was in Savannah. But 99 was the first one, and that was in the Canada side of Niagara Falls. So,
Okay.
yeah, the Canada side of Niagara Falls, because they were still allowing. I remember, being able to gamble at that time. I'm like, I'm not 21 and I can gamble. So yeah, it was the Canada side of Niagara Falls in '99.
Which one is that your most memorable, or is there one out of those 16 that are more memorable?
I would say winning a team title with Harry and Jose, with Mr. Graham and Mr. Pacheco, is probably the most memorable one. To be able to be, the young kid that they really helped mold and bring up and make who I am. They trusted me to be their third, so that was a big one for me. It's nice to have recognition from fellow competitors and friends, but when you have it from your instructors, as we believe in you, we have faith in you. That was, for me, that was probably the best one on that.
And where was your most recent one? Where'd you win the most recent?
That was Reno, at the league. Tony Cattengale and Sean Dunlau. They have a great organization called the League, and they do a world championship event every October, and it's fabulous. It's amazingly run, great people, professional judges. It's great. So that one was this last October, and I brought like 7 students to that. So that was a fun one. So,
And are there plans to hit that 17th?
God willing and body willing, I'm going to do it until the wheels fall off. I say that, but no, it's more, I'm going to keep going until my body doesn't allow me to prepare properly. Like, I have no problem with not winning. I think we learn more from not winning than we do from winning. But when I can't prepare the right way, if I can't get in shape, if I can't, do the things that are needed to do to win, that's when I'll step back and stop doing that. So, but I think that's sooner than later, because I got to have my right hip needs to be replaced. I got, all this good stuff. I'm pretty broken. So I don't know.
Who is your toughest competitor to date?
Oh, Raymond Daniels, by far. He's the only person I've fought more than once that I've never beaten. It's
Okay.
annoying. It's annoying. Every time I see him, I want to just hit him in the head with a bat. I'm like, you're too good. You're too good. So no,
Go ahead.
he was the hardest. The best I ever did with him is I took him to overtime twice, and that was a win for me. I'm like, I beat you. He's like, no, you really didn't. I go, I know I didn't, but I took you to overtime. That was the best I ever did with him. So
That's a win in your book, right?
That was a Da Vinci Code that I could never crack. So
Who are some other notable competitors? I don't want to use the term rival, but is there anybody that like you were kind of chasing for a bit?
No, it was never, for me. It was never rivalry. It was just, this is a chess game that I'm trying to win, and it's the one good thing. Well, many good things, but the one good thing with point karate is it's not like doing, MMA or Muay Thai boxing, to where you'll take a nice little beating where you can't do it every weekend. We were doing, when I was coming up, I was doing 2, sometimes 3 tournaments a weekend. So it was more just going, okay, here's here's a guy that has great kicks. I want to test my front leg with him. Or here's a guy that has a great blitz. I want to work my timing off of that. So there's never really rivalries in that sense of like, oh, I have to beat you. Because I truly believe that if I did what I needed to do, there's no one that I couldn't beat. So obviously, except for Raymond, since I've never beaten him. But
What are your thoughts on groin as a target in point
I love it.
sparring?
I love it. I love, especially now doing Kempo. It's a lot of groin strikes. So I think that here's my opinion on it. I feel like if you're going to have 2-point kicks, you should have groin open. 2 points. Let me phrase that. If you're going to have 2-point kicks to the body, you should be able to have the groin open. If you're going to go 1-point kicks to the body, then you should have no groin, because you'll go to a tournament that nowadays it's usually 2 minutes total points, or a slaughter rule. You get 10 points and the match is over. So you have a great kicker. Body kicks are 2 points. 5 kicks, it's over. You make that a little bit more fair by making it 1 point, or open the groin up, because I'll take a lot of those kicks away. You better make sure you got your cross your T's and dot your I's before you throw that kick.
I got to say,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, I was so disappointed, and this was years ago. I mean, it was at the Long Beach Internationals, and it had been the first time that I competed again just for fun. And I go in, first thing someone does, throws this big old high kick, right? I just sit back, drop a groin kick, and like I was almost immediately disqualified. And I was like, wait, what? What happened? Because coming up the ranks, like groin was open all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it did prevent a lot of the hopping on one foot, flipping kicks, out there. It kept people in check just a little bit more. But I'm glad to hear that you feel similarly, in that groin should be open. I know my buddy Kevin Kowalczyk's like, dude, there shouldn't be groin kicks. Groin kicks shouldn't be allowed. And I'm like, why not? That's like my favorite go-to to score.
Well, they shouldn't be allowed. Just change the scoring of it. But I mean, like Mr. Pacheco just had his tournament. Groin was open. And 4 of my 6 points were from scoop kicks. So it makes it easier for us. I don't need to kick so high. But it's kind of like they have it like Compete has a West Coast and a NASCA. So the West Coast at certain tournaments will be groin open, but like their NASCA division, there's no groin. So I mean that's a way to allow people to still do both. There's a benefit for both, and it's one of those. I feel like people that just want to compete, I understand why they don't want groin. For people that want to kind of open everything up and still be able to practice, probably one of the most devastating moves you can do is a scoop kick. You got to be able to practice it. And there's not many training partners that are going to say, okay, you can kick me in the groin. You have it open in competition now, it's there, and it's an open thing. It allows you to practice something and not, beat up your partners.
Right.
So.
Well, having trained in Krav Maga for the last, more than 5 years, and even further back with Mr. Cox, that was always like, when you're training self-defense, that's where your kicks are going. But
Mm-hmm.
sport and self-defense, I do understand that. Sport and
Yep.
self-defense, and sport karate versus MMA in the cage. Different rules apply. What's your training? Go ahead.
I was going to say, just like like you said with Krav, it's even MMA to boxing, it's a sport. There's rules involved.
Right.
So it's I'm sure you've got this. What would you do if you got in a street fight? I'm like, hit you in the head with a brick. I'm like, I'm not going to kick you in the head. What happens if I fall? I'm like, it's completely different. And that's the one thing with all those sports. It's understanding what rules you're going, into, and having a good chess strategy and not a checker strategy for it. So.
Right. No, that's exactly true. What I was going to ask before that was, what did your training regimen, for those that are watching, like for example, my son has shown interest in, I don't know if he wants to point fight necessarily. He loves UFC, and he loves the MMA and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. But what was your training regimen like, so that people can understand the amount of time? You said you trained anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day. And we'll get to talking because you were a personal trainer as well.
Mhm.
What was your personal training regimen like, so that people have an understanding?
It was hell. I'll start with that. So the reason I trained that much is my first world title, I was 130 pounds at 6'2". So I was very skinny and making weight sucked. So it was not healthy. It was not the right thing to do, but it was the right division for me to start at. So a lot of it was just running, 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 running. A lot of high intensity training, having your metabolism burn off as much as you can. But a lot of it was I would get up, I would do anywhere from 3 to 5 miles, come back, relax, eat minimal, go do a morning karate class, come back, hit the gym. And by hitting the gym was high reps, low weight, building more conditioning than strength. And then taking a couple classes and then again at night. And that was, pretty much every day. And then Sunday would be like a walk day, like just
Hmm.
go for a hike and stuff like that. Um, with your son, I hear a lot of people, will go, I want to fight. I love the UFC. I think what's great about point fighting right now, though, is it's really starting to have its uh, exposure to MMA. You have people, Raymond Daniels, Stephen Thompson, Michael Page. Even you go to George St. Pierre, who competed in Kyokushin. These are traditional martial artists that did point tournaments. There's something that's really amazing about point fighting, even for full contact. It's just having to learn how to sit in your punches and learn your grappling game and your wrestling. But point fighting is a great thing for uh, for full contact. I mean, if you go back to even old school, Petey Sugarfoot Cunningham started with sport karate. Benny Arquidez started with sport karate. And they transferred that into their own style of full contact. And it's for kids just starting, I mean, my opinion on it is I don't think a 10-year-old needs to put 16-ounce gloves on and start banging it out. I think that you might have a couple kids that will stick around with that, but I'm much bigger on baby steps. Let's start with this. Okay, you're liking this, cool, now let's go put the heavier gloves on. Okay, you're liking this, let's add the leg kicks. Okay, you're liking this, now let's work the takedowns. You're liking this, let's work the jiu-jitsu with it.
Hmm.
But with CT and everything like that, you don't need to have a kid just brawling it out with 16s that young. So
Right.
I think point fighting is a great way to start.
Yeah. Well, good answer. Um, I want to talk a little bit more about your, before we talk about having a school, your personal training. I didn't know this, and I just saw this in a post the other day. I don't know if it was on your page or somewhere, or maybe I was just Googling you to get a little background. But did you train Britney Spears?
I did for a long time. Yeah.
And how was
Yeah.
that?
She's amazing. She's amazing. The most sweet, generous person ever. I don't know how she does what she does. Just it was everyday paparazzi. So I really feel for the high end celebrities that have to deal with that on a daily basis and never really have their own anonymity and freedom from that. But no, she treated me perfectly for all the years that I trained her. I trained her for 2000, God, 2006 for about started 2006 and then for about 4 or 5 years. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
how did that connection begin?
luck, complete luck. So I was the cardio kickboxing like Taibo instructor and boxing kickboxing instructor at Malibu Gym.
Hmm.
And she called in, or her people called in and said, we're looking for somebody to do a aerobic kickboxing class with her. Do you have anyone? They're like, yep. They just that's how I got it. And I always say that luck can get you in the door, your skill will keep you there. So I was lucky enough to be good at what I did, and they kept me around for a while. So
Nice. Any other notable celebrities that you did some personal training with?
which ones can I say that? Because the hard part is they have you sign an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Which one has had? Okay. Uh, Paula Patton. I trained her. She put a post out about me, so I can say that. Yeah, and then I can tell you who else off
No,
not
that's
on
cool.
that, but yeah, there's NDAs that go involved and can't do
I
that.
get
But
it. I get it. Yeah. Just people watching, maybe, interested to hear some of the other people. But yeah, we'll save that for another time. What was it about? How did you get into personal training?
so I the owner of Malibu Gym now, it's now called Diamond's Malibu Gym. And Diamond Russ was a gentleman that trained me in weights to help me get stronger when I was moving up in weight class. And um, he's the one, he really mentored me to become a trainer. And it was, again, another kind of lucky situation. They had their Taibo instructor leave and open his own spot, and they needed somebody. And he goes, Manny will do it. I'm like, what will I do? What am I doing? He goes, you're going to teach that class. I'm like, Diamond, what? I don't know how to do that. He's like, figure it out. And he threw me in there. And then off of that, the clients were liking it. They're like, do you do personal training? I'm like, well, I'm not, certified in that. So Diamond told me to go to this guy, Bill Cunningham. And I'm not sure if he's still there. He's actually was right by where Mr. Ichikawa used to be, off of Thousand Oaks, in that industrial, is American Academy of Body Sculpting. And I got a quick
Mm-hmm.
certification there. Then I went to UCLA Extension and got my main certification through that. Um, and then I've been very blessed to be in the right time, right place at the right time a lot, and
Wow.
really just made the best of it, um, and not let those opportunities slip through my fingers. So, um, but it all comes back to martial arts on that. If I hadn't had that martial arts background, I wouldn't be teaching a Taibo class or a cardio
Right.
kickboxing. If I hadn't done martial arts, I wouldn't have even had the confidence to step in front of everybody and do that. If I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't taught classes before, I would never have been able to go in front of, 35, college kids, husbands, wives, and go, okay, guys, let's do it. It's time to go. But it was, trial by fire a few
Right.
times. So,
Well, let's get into that. How did you start teaching martial arts?
so I went to Mr. Graham's. I had taught a little bit before, but I was going up there, and one day he's just going, I need to go. Do you want to teach this class? I'm like, sure. And from day one, Harry had been so open armed and welcoming to me. He really didn't know me, from anybody. And he brought me and he goes, hey, I need, can you teach this class? Cool. I'm like, absolutely. And next day he comes in, he goes, thank you for teaching. He hands me an envelope. And I'm like, what's this? He's like, you're getting paid to teach, dude. And I would cover for him. And then he asked me to teach, some classes on a regular basis there. And I did that for a long time. And then uh, stuck just with the personal training. And then, went to New York. Sorry, I'll go back. I went to New York for an X. So I stopped teaching, came back, really just did the personal training. At that point, Mr. Graham's school was he was kind of transitioning out to become the respiratory nurse that he is now. And would just do privates, karate privates here and there. And then I was going through the police academy, and my back was not holding up. I had already had my second back surgery at that point, and just my body was breaking down. And my wife goes, why don't you open your own karate school? And I go, I don't have any students. She goes, Field of Dreams it. She goes, if you build it, they'll come. And started off couple months, nobody. I'm like, I would stand outside, be like, I'll teach you for free. Just come in. I don't care. Just let me have somebody. And then finally one kid signed up, two kids signed up, and the rest is history. Time goes by like that. And that was, God, over 8 years ago now. So
Right.
yeah, it goes by
So
fast.
it all started. It all started with Mr. Graham saying, "Do you want to teach this class?" Because I hear that so much. What was your first teaching experience like? I mean, mine was, um, someone was running late or someone needed to use the bathroom, and they're like, "Can you just warm up?" And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Well, just figure it out. And so many of us, that's just our experience in teaching, is just get out there and do it. Um, what what have you seen change in yourself as a a full-time martial arts instructor with a school now versus when you were the young competitor? Because we all have this vision of what martial arts is to us, and then we start teaching martial arts, and maybe that vision changes a little bit. It just changes our mentality. How has it changed you?
I would say the maturity of teaching every day, but even just the maturity of an almost 42-year-old man now, is when I first started, you'd have someone do something like, "Why are you not getting this? I can do it. You should be able to do it." And that is the worst mentality to have because everybody's on their own journey, but you're young and dumb and going through there being like, "I explained this perfectly. I demonstrated it perfectly. I've put you in this position. You should be able to get this." And what I really seen change in me is going, "You're going to get it when you get it. Everything happens when it's supposed to for you." And I have for my two students, I go, "I don't care if you get it right or wrong. You can get it wrong a billion times. I don't care. I need two things from you. You give me your best focus, your best effort. We'll get you there. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but you give me those two things. I can live with you making a mistake and be totally fine. You get your high five and a hug, and I'll tell you I love you. But you could be getting it right and be, lackadaisical and not focusing right, and I'm not going to be happy." So I would say the one thing that's changed in me is seeing people for who they are and not what I think they should be. And that I think is giving people the freedom to really say, "Here I am, and this is what I am." Because I think a lot of times people can hold back because they don't know how to say, "Here I am. This is me. Take it or leave it. I'm doing the best that I can." And I think that, we need a lot more of that, of just understanding of this is who this person is. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to hear what you have to say. And we're going to try to find a way to incorporate my beliefs, my philosophies with yours so that we can reach that common goal of losing weight, getting that kick down, getting the next belt, building more confidence, all of that good stuff. Um, I would say that would be the one thing that's really changed in me. And that could be from teaching every day, and it could just be from, seeing people in and out every day. So I
Mhm.
think it's a little mix of both.
What do you find is we kind of touched on this a little bit at the very beginning, and maybe it was more offline, but your biggest challenge as a martial arts school owner, what do you find is your biggest challenge?
I'll use the last 2 years because the last 2 years has been hard on all of us. Um, is I am patient to no end when it comes to students and kids. Where I lose my little bit of patience is, I'm sure you've heard this too. Why are you making this rule when it comes to the pandemic? Like, I'm not making this rule. These are just the rules that I have to follow so I don't get fined. And so we can keep the doors open. And, you know, some arguments that I get towards me, like, you shouldn't, I'm like, okay, you're right. I might not want to do that. I might want to do that. But at the end of the day, we have health inspectors that walk past our school on a regular basis, and that's a very hefty fine. I'm like, do you want to are you happy with your school? Yes, I don't want to go anywhere. Do you want your school to be here? Yes, I want it to be here. Then, unfortunately, these are the rules we have to follow. So the hardest part for me is trying to have students and parents understand that it's the guidelines that we follow when it comes to certain things aren't school rules. Those are county rules. And the county rules will supersede my school rules.
Right.
So that's a hard one on that.
Yeah. Well, and for those watching or watch later, um, Manny, his school is in Los Angeles County,
Hmm.
and Los Angeles County has been probably by far the most challenging. Um, Considering that I think our kids just went back to school today, and are going back to school with no masks finally. I
Hmm.
believe in LA County the mask mandate is still in effect.
Nope. Mask mandate, from
No.
my understanding, is done. It's now choice. It started off, which was another fun conversation. If you're fully vaccinated, you could take your mask off, and then that
Mhm.
got lifted. And now, from what I'm understanding, is you have the choice to take that off now. So,
Okay. All
what
right.
was hard for me is there was a restaurant, and that will remain nameless, that didn't really want to comply,
Right.
and by not wanting to comply, did not comply. So that brought a lot of health inspectors and county officials right in front of my school.
Yep.
So there's not there's like, why do you have blinds? Why do you have this? Why do you have that? I'm like, okay. Like we had I had the health department get called in on me because I was teaching a Zoom class by myself without a mask on, with my door locked. And they're like, you're teaching classes without a mask. I'm like, I own the business. I'm in here by myself. They're like, well, the door's open. I had to show security footage of me locking the door, that I was the only one in there. It, it's, it was a pain in the backside. But I will say this, there's two good things that came from this. And I think we're very quick to jump on all the negatives on here. Here's the one good thing that came from it to start. I think the last 2 years has really taught everybody how to rise up, overcome, and adapt. Because if you didn't rise up from this, you didn't adapt from it, you didn't overcome it, you're not going to be open. And there were plenty of businesses that were amazing businesses that didn't make it. And uh, that is the one thing I'm very grateful for. It made me much more flexible on how to do things. Let's go outside. Okay, we're outside now. I'm not going to wear a belt, or you can wear a hat in class because it's sunny and hot. You can wear sunglasses because it's, the valley's 105 degrees. Okay, you know what? You can have more water breaks because I don't want you to drop of, heat stroke. The other thing that came from, at least from my school, is a lot of my students were, I want screen time. I want screen time. Give me more screen time. I want more. What can I do? If I get this next belt, can I have a little extra screen time? They, I would say 99% of my kids were like, I don't want any more screen time. Can we please just be in person? I don't want this. I want to go outside. I want to go do this. And I mean, we grew up where it was punishment to go to our room. Now
Right.
it's like kids who go, I'll go to my room. I got a flat screen TV. I got my Xbox. I got my Beats. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. For us, it's like ours was, we're going outside. So that was our PlayStation. Go outside and play. So it really, I got to see my kids go, I don't want screen time. I want to go outside with my family. I want to go see my friends. I want to go play.
Right.
So out of all of the hardship from it, there is still some great stuff that came from it. If we can just take a step back, take a breath, and go, okay, here's what it is. But there was a lot of stuff that was
Well, I
all of
think
my all my gray hair is from the last 2 years.
from COVID, right? Yeah, the one word that you said, flexibility. I think that a lot of us did learn flexibility, in our schools, of course, in our businesses, but also just in our lives in general. I mean, at some point, there's just certain things where um, you have to ask yourself, is the fight going to achieve the means that you really want, or can we just do it a different way? Right? Are we
Mhm,
fighting for what we're used to because that's the way we've always done it, or do we kind of look at it from a different angle? And I think that's one thing that I've been very happy. We had so many benefits to COVID. Training outside was actually really cool.
mhm,
We would have never forced ourselves to do that. I mean, it used to be a novelty to have our street self-defense class outside wearing tennis shoes, and we're going to go train in the back. That was like kind of a novelty, and now it's almost normal. Um, you know, Something else that we learned is that our students, like you said, they didn't want the screen at a time anymore. They wanted to be outside. They wanted to play. We really learned which students were 100% committed and dedicated to
mhm,
martial arts, and I think that those students will be students for life,
mhm,
which is super cool. It's just brought the camaraderie and the unity together just even tighter. That's something that in our culture I strive for, is keeping everybody close knit, making it a team, making everybody feel like they belong. And this just, people want to be here. They want to be around those people.
mhm.
So there has been, I agree, there's been a lot of great things. I think we're pretty much at the tail end here and moving forward. Some people are posted on social media like we're moving on with our lives like it never even happened before. And well, okay, I mean, that there's going to be something else. I mean, we got gas prices out of control, and we got different things going on all over the world. I mean, there's always going to be something. There's always
Mhm.
going to be something. But I think that in the end, it's the people that, like you said, look for the positive, look for the good. I mean, I think that you're going to find what you're looking for. If you're constantly focused on the negative, that's all you're going to see. But when you start focusing on the positive, you're going to see a lot more of it.
Well, it goes back to that line. They always say the grass is greener on the other side, which is not true. The grass is greener where you water it. So, if you're watering that negativity is going to grow. If you're, watering the positivity, you're going to have a way more positive outlook on it. And I mean, I did a video on our so like we started a private Facebook group page and all this stuff during COVID. And one of the videos I posted, I'm like, look, this is the time that you guys can really take as a teaching moment for your kids. Okay, what's going on? We're stuck at home. How about teach your kids to do laundry? How about teach your kids to sew? How about do all these things that we all got to learn when we were kids that has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit now, whether it be parents are working too much, kids have too many extracurricular activities, whatever the case may be. Now we have the time to do it. You have a teaching moment. And I feel like if I could tell any of my students anything is when a teaching moment arises, take it. Take that time that you can teach somebody something. Take that time where you can learn something because you'll just be better for it. And it's like you said, like I said, there's a lot of great things that did come from this if you can take a step back and really look at it. So,
Well, and having heard your story today, and you talk about teaching moments, and you talk about opportunities, you seem to have found those in life since a very young age and taken it to your adult life now to where you have seized every opportunity possible and you've reaped a ton of benefit from it. So, congratulations to you on
oh,
that.
thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Now, here's a question for you because I never
Okay.
get to ask you questions. It
Okay.
is it is so impressive how much you have on your plate, from Chamber of Commerce to coaching your kids' sport league to owning your business to when you were wrestling to all this stuff. And at least from the outside looking in, you kept your sanity. Like the idea of all of that and finding all that time, I'm like, how on God's green earth does he find the time to do this? And how does he also do it without just being completely just fried from it?
hmm
Like how do you do that?
So, people ask me that a lot. Actually, how the question is, how do you do so much, or how do you, and there's a couple things that allow me to do it. Number one is my wife is the most supportive person on the planet of everything that I do. So I attribute my success so much to her support because, let's face it, wrestling. Wrestling was not her favorite thing. As a matter of fact, I suffered a really bad injury in wrestling, and that made her not like it even more. But she knew how much I loved it, so she would support me just enough so that I could still do it without having to come home and have an argument or to have to have that conflict, right? um, with the businesses, the martial arts school, the restaurant, and how the ice cream, uh, she does so much to support me. And really what people don't get is that it's not just that she's supporting me, it's that she does so much that I get credit for. I don't know how that works out, but maybe I just have a louder voice. The other thing is within my karate school, the reality is I don't teach all of my classes. Matter of fact, I teach very few of the classes in my school now because I've developed a team that has allowed me to step off the mat, go on vacation, go work on the other businesses. I can work on my business and not be in it all day long. So I've just been very, I don't want to say lucky, because it was planned. It was something that I have developed a system to bring staff members up. I have a very young staff. They're all teenagers, with the exception of one who is now, I believe, 20, and they do an amazing job. So without that team, I wouldn't be able to get out and do all the other stuff. And the third thing is that when it comes to anything that I do, um, I'm kind of an all in person. So I'm
Mhm.
either all in or I'm all out. If I'm going to commit to doing something, I am
Mhm.
going to do it. And I make it a priority. The very first thing I do every single day, is when I get out of bed, my workout is number one. It's number one on my priority, and that helps give me the energy to to get out and do the rest of the stuff that I do for the day. And I constantly make a list of stuff that I need to do, and I really just hit that list hard, every single day. So, um, fortunately for me, teaching martial arts is just the greatest job in the world. I mean, it's a passion. Martial arts, professional wrestling, passion. Uh, Podcasting now, passion. I think that that's the one thing that drives me is I continue to do the things that bring me joy and feed my passion. All
Mhm.
the other stuff, sometimes it's just got to go. And unfortunately, certain people that are not going to support that or feed to the positivity, they got to go. And I just continue to move forward.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You said a line like, I got lucky. You did get lucky through all your hard work because the harder you work, the luckier you'll get. Hard
Right.
work, it's like you look at these basketball players make the shot, you're like, God, that was a lucky shot. Really? They practice hours on end to make those shots. The harder you
Right.
work, the luckier you get, and you definitely work your backside off. So,
Well,
it's a testament to you. So,
thanks for acknowledging that, and thanks for bringing that up. I love to remind people that if you love what you do, right? We've all heard this before. If you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I just I'm blessed. So, and I know being a martial arts school owner, you feel the same way. I mean, there's no greater joy than watching your students succeed. Right? We talked about being a coach and being a competitor. I,
yeah.
I bet if I ask you which feels better, winning a world title yourself or one of your
Watching
students
my
winning
kids
a
win the
world
world
title,
title. It was the best feeling in the world watching my kids win the world title.
for sure.
But like you said, if you love what you do, there's especially in this business, because people are very short sighted. They'll be like, "Oh, you're just teaching class." Be like, "Yeah, but you know what goes into teaching class? Do you know like the amount of hours we have to work for those few hours that we get to teach?" Um, it's one of those that I don't. I think that you couldn't do it if you didn't love it. You
Right.
couldn't push through just the just the heartbreak of like a student leaving. Like, you know, teachers don't leave, students do. So
Hmm.
it's you know what I mean? Like once when you're a teacher, like I've got you for life. You're my guy, you're my girl. I got you. They'll be the ones that go off to college. They're the ones that will stop. We don't.
Hmm.
So like if you don't really love it, just that heartbreak in itself, being like, God, I miss them. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I don't really I don't think anyone can really stick to it. If you do, please, I'd love to know how you can shut that stuff off, man. If I This would be way too hard if I didn't love it. It'd be
Right.
way
Right.
too hard.
Well, you said something very quickly, and maybe most people don't always catch this, but we get to teach martial arts. We don't have to. Right?
Mhm.
We get to, and that's, I mean, what a great way to think about anything. I get to work out in the morning. I don't have to. Right? I get to meet and talk with great friends and motivational and inspirational people. I don't have to, but I get to. It's that mindset is empowering. Just that quick shift in those two words. And
Mhm.
you brought up the heartbreak of losing students. Man, I still haven't figured out how to turn that switch off, because no matter what, whether a student's been with us a month or a year or 10 years, every time someone leaves, a little piece leaves with you. But the good thing is that they take with them what they learn from you, because I'm sure by now you've had students that have left or, come back and said, man,
Mhm.
I got this job or I did well in school all because the lessons I learned in martial arts.
Mhm. Mhm. I had one, you'll like this one. I had a parent come up, go, I need my child to be more focused, more respectful, more disciplined. I go, perfect. I go, look, I teach life skills here. I teach life skills here. I go, karate's a byproduct. I go, but what you're really getting, and I truly believe we live by our motto, we create champions for life. And they're like, okay, we like this. They were with us for 3 or 4 months. Like, okay, my kid's great. They're going to go do soccer. No joke. Like 6 weeks later, dad comes, go, my kid's acting up. I don't know what's going on. I go, I do. Like, what is that? I go, you pulled him out of the karate. I go, we hold him accountable. Like, there's no like, I'll do it today. I won't do. I'll do it today or I'll do it tomorrow. No. You do it all the time. You're not honest some of the time. You're honest all the time. You're not a good person some of the time. Good person all of the time. And getting to see that, and you see the parent go, man, you're right. I'm like, I told you when you pulled them, this is a bad idea. I go, it's still new. I'm like, you wanted all of these things, and they're now acting the way that you want them to. They're being that upstanding young man, and they're like, no, soccer. Okay,
Right.
I'll be
Or
here.
or the parent or the parent that says we're going to take a break from karate because my child isn't getting good grades. Well, I can help with that. When they're in martial arts, they have better discipline, they have better focus, they're going to study harder, they are going to be held accountable. Why would you take away the one thing that's a help to them? And we're on the parents' team, right? So those are the ones that kind of kill me, because I'm like, why would you take them out of something that's actually helping them do what you want them to do?
Yeah, we have a thing. I actually got it from the Super Show. Uh, for me, it's not grades. So like for me, I'm one of those. I'm massively dyslexic. I'm a focus and effort person, and I believe if you give your best focus, your best effort, you're going to get the grades that you should be getting. But if you have someone like me, massively dyslexic, learning issues, maybe that C is the best that they can get. Maybe it's a B. So for me, we have our sheet. You're not testing if the teacher's not
Mm,
checking off that you're good with that. Be like, are they giving, black belt effort? Are they participating? Are they turning in their work on time? Are they turning in their work completed?
mhm,
So like we did one where if you got once a month, I would give a sheet to the teachers and say, did they turn in all their work? I don't care if it was right or wrong. Just everything had to be turned in on time. No missing assignments. You'd get a star.
mhm.
If you got to 6 stars, you got a pizza party. Just stuff
Nice.
like that to keep them being like, oh, I want to go get that. I want to go get this. And they got the stars that they put on their belt, all that little stuff to keep motivated on that, because as well as anybody, you know, motivation will go away. As adults, we learn to be dedicated when that motivation goes away. For kids, especially some kids, they need that motivation constantly. They haven't
Mhm,
learned to be dedicated yet. So you give them that little thing of a dollar, star that they can put on their belt. Yes, let's go. And
mhm, mhm.
it's just whatever that helping tool. So that like thing with the grades, like you're pulling because they don't have good grades. If the hour class, now let's say hour and a half, because let's say 15-minute drive each way, that hour and a half, 3 times a week is affecting your kid's grade. There's something else going on, and it's not school.
Right.
You know, just be honest. Is your kid enjoying it anymore, or are they not enjoying it? Like I ask my parents, I go, your kid's having a fit to go to karate. Why? What are they doing at home? Well, they're playing video games. I'm like, well, yeah. If you took Jackie to the Four Seasons and you go, okay, you know what? We got to leave right now. We can't finish it. She's not going to be very happy. Be like, no, I want to stay and do my spa day. You're telling a kid that's enjoying playing video games, you have to leave what you enjoy right now to go to karate. How about you start them on their homework, start them on their chores, have them put their stuff away. Time for karate. Okay, good. We're out.
Let's go. Yep.
First person to run out the door. It's all about finding that way to connect with your kids, and your students. And once you do that, man, the sky's the limit. So
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, hey, listen, we're about at our time here, so I appreciate you spending time with me, and it's great catching up. We're definitely gonna have to do lunch. We'll talk about that offline.
please, I
But
love
if you can you close with what's next for Manny Bujold? What are your goals for 2022 that you want to share with anyone?
my goals for 2022. Let's think about that. Well, my goals, I got to write down new goals because I already hit my goal that I wanted. I hit that way faster. I hit that the first quarter. With us really coming back from COVID, I wanted to get back over 185 students. We did that. Um, my goal is to be a better version of myself. Would be the first one there. You know, attitude reflects leadership. So if I'm a better version of myself, that's going to trickle down to everybody that is either working with me or working under me, students, so on and so on. And I feel like everything starts with us. So, people go, I want my students to get better. Okay, well, I have to get better.
Mm-hmm.
If I get better, I can make my students better. You can't just keep giving the same recipe over and over again and expect a different, outcome. So I would say my goal for the next, half of the year would be I want to be a better version of myself so that I can be a better version for my students.
That's awesome. I love your quote, by the way. One of my favorite movies, Remember the Titans. Attitude reflects leadership. Very, very
Mhm.
cool line.
Absolutely. Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, hey, stick around for just a minute as I close things out and we end the show with our video. But for those of you watching, appreciate you guys checking in this week. We'll have another guest next week. We got Mr. Michael Chabot coming on, and every week we're here at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm here in California, and I definitely appreciate comments on our YouTube channel. Follow us there. You can see it down at the bottom. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you're at, and let's connect. And any comments on this video would be helpful as well. So let us know if you have any questions, and I'm sure Manny will check in on as well. So thanks again, Manny. Appreciate having you on the
Appreciate
show
you, man.
today.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, hang out in the green room, as they say. I'll be right back. All
You got it.
right, guys, make it a great week, and we'll see you next Monday.